What is up guys, Major here. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to properly gear up your Thor or Donar. So this is the man right here. Let's take a quick profile look at him. This man looks absolutely beastly, and I'm sure most of you guys really want to know how to kind of get around to building this guy. So I've built him a little bit, not too much. I'm still early game, so I don't have that much resources to do everything, but I do know how to build him. So as you can see, these are my current stats. You can go ahead and look at those. Now here's the thing with this guy, you're going to have to invest in him in terms of legendary Spirimon. You're gonna have to do it. Like it's not even an option. The main reason for this is because his damage comes from his defense, so you definitely need to have these defense conversion ratios, right? So if you look, you need 3 skills into it to have the defense conversion ratio up to 140%. You 100% need that. Now he's a tank by role, so he's generally going to be super tanky, assuming you actually put him in your captain position, and we will touch on that a little bit later, but that's going to be important. You have to use him as your captain. He doesn't work as a off tank. You can do it, but he's not as great. So you need all these defense damage conversion ratios on all his skills. Every single skill has it. Now you might be wondering, why do you need this stuff? Well, this is so we can keep him self-topped up so that your supports can do something else. The last trigger chance increased by 75%. I'm sure you're going to get that by default, but it's not as important as trying to get the cooldown reductions on these skills. That cooldown reduction on all of these skills are going to be super important. Try to get the cooldown reductions if you can. So if you haven't used your legendary Spirimon and you want to use them on Donar, he is definitely going to be worth it. Just make sure you do that. Now let's get into the actual building him part. Crit rate could be not as important. You want to have it as much as possible because it's going to be kind of hard getting your crit rate up with your gear. So if you can have it as much as possible, the reason for this, by the way, is if you come here, you'll see that when an ability triggers a crit rate, it reduces the cooldown on Thundercrack. This is super important. Thundercrack is the thing that's allowing you to switch on your conductor. Now conductor deals damage to all enemies based on defense at the beginning of each turn, removed upon receiving disables. So one of the more important stats that you want to actually have on this guy is resistance as well, right? So as you can see, I'm building my resistance up there as well, and plus he also gets his resistance in the ascension tree over here, so you get a nice 15% ascension. And you do want to upgrade his ascension all the way to max, by the way. You do want to do that, especially for Donar. He's very stat heavy, very stat hungry. You want defense or defense bonus, or even resistance. So you can kind of play around with this a little bit. Try to get your resistance to maybe about 60% or so, something like that. That should help out a lot. You want to have defense bonus, and resist, any of the 3, but focused on defense and defense bonus, by the way. Secondary stats, you want to have defense bonus, you want to have crit rate, you want to have a combination of accuracy and resistance. So between accuracy, resistance, between crit rate, accuracy, resistance, anywhere there, right? That sort of combination. If your resistance is around 60% or so, you should be fine on resistance. Maybe try to work on crit rate. Crit rate is going to be the hardest thing to build on Donar, but it's kind of important if you want to reset your skills, as we just mentioned. That is the main things you want to focus on. If you get a combination of HP, that's okay, but it's not as good, right? Some HP bonus, it's okay, it's not as good. You want to really try to get your resistance up. Now, getting resistance is not the hardest thing to get in Donar specifically, right? So if you can just get to 60%, you're fine. Try to focus on crit rate. You want to build resistance because if Donar is immobilized, it's going to remove his conductor mode. Now, once all that's sorted, you're going to have a combination that looks something like this. Hades, Unaset, you're going to have attack flat with defense bonus. You want to have defense and defense bonus all the time and have some combination of the other 3 stats: resistance, accuracy, crit rate. The next piece over here, you're going to have flat defense. You want to keep those exact same stats. Over here, you're going to have HP and then the stats that we just mentioned earlier. Over here, you're going to have some form of defense percentage bonus, or flat defense, or resistance percentage, and then the combination of stats we just mentioned. And then on the other ones, like over here, you might have the defense percentage, and then over here you might have flat defense. Try to have flat defense on one or the other, sort of spread them out. If you really want to go damage heavy, then you want to have defense almost on all three of these. But if you want to have a well-rounded build Donar, in other words, he's harder to control, because what makes Donar strong is his conductor ability. Being able to reset that, be able to crit is important, so you can hit everybody, you can continue to sustain, and then Thunder Blessing increases his defense by 20% upon receiving damage. And he gets Thunder Blessing when he's in conductor mode. You get conductor mode by being able to, one, reduce its cooldown, which means another person you could actually pair him up with who will really benefit Donar is Anki Chai. Now Anki Chai over here is really crazy, specifically as a support for Donar, because what he's gonna do here is attack up. If the character already has an attack up, he will reduce the teammate's cooldown by 1. That's important. That means you can get conductor off more and more. So having him in the team could really benefit you. I'm actually going to build him, to be honest. And then the other part is he also increases crit rate for up to 2 turns, and then attack up for 1 turn to 2 random allies at the start of each turn. So if this crit rate happens to hit your Donar, you'll be able to reduce your conductor even more. And now how you're going to build him to make sure that he's there and he can do everything is you want to build this guy in a combination of a lot of HP and a lot of defense and a lot of resistance. Don't worry about anything else about him. Don't try to max him out trying to get min-maxy. No, just make him survivable. Make him super tanky, so we can continue using his passive to get that crit rate up and keep reducing Donar's skill there, while Donar is keeping everybody alive and things like that, and he can continue going. And then you pair him up obviously with somebody like Ye over here, who's obviously going to give you the attack up and defense up by 60%, which is obviously making Donar hit so much harder and be so much more tanky, media, that type of thing. The attack is going to help you reduce the conductor cooldowns, right? Those two on your team is going to be great. And then you're going to want to pair them up with somebody who can dispel a bunch of debuffs, make you immune to debuffs, that sort of thing, who makes you invulnerable, any more supports. And then you want to use some form of additional secondary damage dealer. In this image up here, you're gonna start to see me going through stage 10 on Temporal Tower. I haven't really tried to go through because I'm kind of just taking my time right now, but you'll see I put Donar as an off tank versus him as an actual tank in the captain position. So you will see the main difference, even though yes, I don't win stage 10, but you will see the survivability difference, right? Adding also supports to that as well, to show you that if you build in a more focused manner, that's going to help out. Obviously I didn't have Anki Chai built, so I couldn't put him in the team, but I will do that just to make a well-rounded Donar build, and we're going to look at that especially as we keep going forward. That's going to be the how to build Donar guide. So I gave you some team recommendations and things like that. Ideally what you want to do is you want to build teams that are synergistic in nature and that are focused. Don't just put in a bunch of random units. Try to focus, try to have your team sort of solidified around 1 or 2 different people, and they're all sort of synergize together. It's going to be better overall, and it's going to give you a much better experience when it comes to playing through these game modes. Now the way Donar works, because of his captain ability, you can virtually use him in any game mode. So whatever team you build, you could virtually try it out in most game modes. It could work, it might not work, but he's not specific to anything. He is a well-rounder. You could use him any way you really want to use him. All right guys, that's going to be it for this video. That was Donar, the god of thunder, modeled after Thor, obviously. That is awesome. So I will see you guys in the next one. I hope that was useful. Peace out.
I've got your back.